This was a TikTok. Tony, can you hear anything over there?
I can't hear it when you play.
Okay, so I'll play it and kind of sum it up. So basically, you're saying that having self control is a form of oppression and that it's almost uh, a colonist way of thinking of things. So I'll just play a bit of it here, real quick.
One of the many ways that colonial mental health, wellness, self help culture shows up in our society is through the framework of control, power, and domination. And the way that that looks like is using verbiage like, we just need to be able to control our thoughts, our feelings, our mind, our bodies. This idea that you need to force yourself into a state of discomfort in order to regulate your emotions. And ultimately, this extends into the medical and psychiatric industrial complex where these very tools of force are used as an extension of policing, of coloniality, of systems of oppression that are at play. Tactics of domination can never be used to heal from complex trauma and ongoing forms of trauma that the marginalized are experiencing on an everyday basis. And it becomes dangerous when we conflate things like regulating our emotions with controlling them. One of
So I just realized that you can actually see the subtitles there. So were you able to read that?
Yeah, well, I should have put my glasses on. I could see bits and pieces though.
Yeah. So the whole I love what she says. You shouldn't be trying to force yourself into discomfort, and all I'm thinking is like David Goggins. Who's going to carry the boats?
And
But
you got to callous your mind.
yeah, exactly. It's just part of this mindset that a lot of them seem to have about the fact of you're not supposed to control your emotions. Of course, I know we both love Marcus Aurelius and the Meditations, where a lot of it really is about not, of course, because a lot of people think stuff like Stoicism is trying to remove your emotions when the reality is it's just not letting them rule you. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
they want to constantly go against that every chance they get because, let's face it, they're mentally unstable and they just shout and they throw tantrums, right? And saying no, that's not right, of course, irritates them a lot. But the whole idea that it's a colonist way of thinking to control, it's part of white supremacy. It's, colonial thinking to control your emotions. That's just the most insulting thing I could possibly think to like Africans or Asians or any of them, that only white people can control our emotions. Only white people can actually be stoic. No, no, no. That doesn't exist with Asians or blacks. No, only white people do that sort of stuff. It is really insane how racist the left really is towards everyone other than white, while at the same time pretending to be completely in favor of all those other groups.
No,
And
I think that message is going out as the epitome of evil in our time, because it is so giving in to ego, to pursuit of carnal pleasures, and anything goes. And so I think that entire rant is the epitome of evil in our time.
it definitely is. And she's not alone with it. You can find video after video after video of people talking about how, no, you need to express yourself as openly as possible. And it's the whole thing of they take what sounds like something that's actually pretty good to hear of, hey, you should get in tune with your emotions. You should
Yeah,
express
be your
yourself
authentic
with,
self. Be your authentic self is a little different than what they're preaching.
yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing of be your authentic self, but if your authentic self kind of sucks, you need to improve yourself. Okay. Like, let's just be real. I mean, I think it was I forget who said it was if you meet 10 people and all of them think you're an asshole, chances are you're probably an asshole. Like this
I
idea
don't
that
think
you
it's
shouldn't
chances.
improve is just bewildering to me. And I heard this quite a bit actually when I was in high school, when I was still dealing with like some issues involving like kind of depression and anxiety and stuff like that, where people just kept telling me, like, especially kind of in my friend group who was kind of also kind of in that kind of world, they're saying, oh no, you got to roll with it because it's just who you are and there's nothing you're ever going to do to really get out of that sort of stuff. It's a part of you and all this stuff. And it was, thankfully I took more of your advice and read stuff like John Maxwell and Zig Ziglar and started actually changing the way I thought about things to help overcome a lot of those problems I was having. And what do you know? Now I like to think I'm very much a glass half full kind of guy. But this whole idea that you shouldn't try to strive to improve yourself, you shouldn't put yourself in any form of discomfort whatsoever, is just so bizarre to me, especially when you have countless examples of what actually does create good people, what actually does create good outcomes. It's always going through some sort of struggle, learning from it, and improving yourself because of that. And it's really funny because throughout all this, I also kind of just looking at my screen there and glancing behind me, I have the Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Dichotomy of Leadership also back over there as well, which is just nothing but that exact very lesson of just taking responsibility for everything around you, putting yourself in tough situations, and improving yourself daily.
Yep. That's what I live by. It's what I teach. I'm a firm believer that each one of us are the cause and the solution of every problem we could ever encounter. It's maybe something in our life ain't our fault, but how we respond and the things around it, that's our responsibility. And that's where we have to step up and do things different. But so much of this way of thinking, I want you to expand your thinking just a little bit. Glass half full that's a limited way of thinking. It doesn't matter what's in your glass because we live in a world of faucets. I can have whatever I want in my glass, and this world is filled with abundance. And that's the kind of mindset we have to have: is the world is full of abundance, and each one of us are worthy. Each one of us are capable, and it's just up to us to make the right choices, take the right actions, and over time we will become what it is we are to become. But it's a process, and stop limiting that thinking and thinking in a scarce mindset, because we don't live in a world of scarcity.
So basically, even no matter how bad of a hand you have, you can keep drawing cards, you can keep expanding it, you can find something eventually as long as you keep working at it.
Well, there's a new deal, there's a new game.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you got to keep playing a bad hand. You play the cards you're dealt and you move on.
Well, I mean, isn't it funny that all this type of ideology, though, that kind of goes against what you're saying, comes from the same people who, when it comes to every other issue, thinks very similarly, in the sense of, you look at the economy, they look at it as someone has to lose in order for you to win. It's a very set
zero
pie,
sum.
right? Yeah,
zero sum.
Instead of looking at it as a bakery, they look at it as, just one pie and that's it. And if I accomplish something positive, it means I had to have harmed someone in a negative way.
So, one of the books I had you go through early on was Free to Choose. And hopefully one of the lessons you took from Free to Choose is one of the problems that our government agencies have is they have that mindset. And so they think that we're going to do this change and it's only going to affect this one thing, because they overlook the big picture and the ripple effects. It's why Clinton can come in and create a luxury tax on expensive boats and thinking that's going to really bring in income to the government, when in reality it brought in less income and it lost a lot of jobs. And so because it had a ripple effect, it's not a zero sum game. It's not I win, you lose. We live in a world of abundance. We live in a world of opportunity, and it's open and at least for right now in this country, it is open for anyone. Now, if we want to talk problems of systemic racism and some of the other things that people on the right try to avoid, I don't think we should avoid it. If we want to look at where systemic racism really exists in this world today, in our country today, it's in our leftist cities, in minority predominant areas, in those public schools.
Oh, 100%.
There is a tremendous barrier. And those are the kind of things we need to talk about, because those kids need to hear the message that the world isn't out to get you, but you've got a tough road ahead. But there is a path.
When Trump was running in 2020, one of his big things he was constantly pushing was the charter school programs for a lot of the inner city areas. And it's funny, whenever Republicans actually propose issues or propose solutions to a lot of these issues, instantly it has to be racist, right? It has to be racist. It has to be evil. Oh, he just wants to get rid of public school teachers. Oh, he just hates the public school system. And no, what he wants is in that case, to make sure people have options to help better improve their status in life and, going further. For one, I mean, let's face it, we could do hours talking about how terrible the public school system is as a whole. But I mean, you're 100% right that when you look at a lot of these inner cities and how they're set up, I mean, it's awful. It's absolutely terrible. And there's
definitely not a message of hope. There's definitely not a message of hope that should be there.
Well, I mean, with all the crime that takes place in there and teachers who don't care, how can there be?
Well, there still can be, because there's still people that are rising up. I mean, you look at Ben Carson and what he came from and what he had. So there are examples that prove that you can come from a bad situation and make something of yourself.
But
But the
what
problem
saved
is there's
Ben
not
Carson
enough
was
of them.
family first. That's what
Yeah,
got him. That's what saved him.
there's not enough of them, and there's definitely not a focus on a family the way it should be. But
And that's where the culture has to come in.
well, it's going to be a tough row ahead for us to win that battle, but we need to be in the arena fighting it. I
Yeah.
mean, because it's a worthy battle. The destruction. I mean, BLM itself said that their goal until they cleaned their website was the destruction of the nuclear family. That was on their list of things to accomplish because it's a Marxist principle, and
Yeah.
they clearly were
They're
a
open
Marxist
Marxists.
organization.
Yeah.
Till they cleaned the website.
Well, that's one
And
thing. Our
that-
church was very open about.
We have got to
opposing-
fight that battle. We cannot stop the fight on that battle.
And
The
it's funny
nuclear
because
family is got to be our key focus.
the Republicans are afraid to even have that discussion because they're afraid they're going to lose black support and all that kind of stuff. And for one, you already got so little. What do you got to lose? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that 4% ain't going to make a difference. Go
Exactly.
forth, and they're with you already. That 4% is with you already on this topic.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Then you have a church like the church that, me and Kat go to, where they went heavy against Black Lives Matter. I know some people don't like churches getting involved politically whatsoever, but I kind of am on the side of, historically speaking, the church has always been politically active. They're supposed to be a voice to help, guide the morality of whatever country they're in. I'm all for it. But they went heavy against Black Lives Matter, saying, of course, they're a Marxist organization. They want the abolition of the nuclear family. They're totally against any form of religion, as all communists are. And they were straight up saying, no, they are commies, and all commies are evil, which may be why I love our church so much. But
Well,
they went out all this, and guess what?
everything
Our
that you
church
just
is
said. Hey, hang on. Everything you just said right up until the commie part was straight from their own website.
Yes.
So this
yes.
isn't propaganda. It wasn't made up. That was straight on their website until they scrubbed it.
Exactly. But here's the funny thing, our church was vehemently against them. And according to the church, around that time period, almost instantly, there was a massive loss in people. I think they said it was like 30%, 40%, big number like that. But then pretty soon after, we were up by like 70% soon after that. So, they stuck to the truth. And what do you know? They lost some people at first, yes, and that's going to happen. But they gained the people who actually heard that truth and wanted to be a part of it. And politicians can learn a similar lesson there that, yes, in the short term, you're going to have the media attack you. You're going to lose some points.
Before you get too far, you didn't just gain white folks either.
Exactly.
I've been to that church. It is a very multicultural church.
It's nearly like 50% black at this point. Or it's 50, maybe it's like 50%, it's like 50% white, and then everyone else is of different races, but obviously there's quite a few black people in the crowd too. And guess who's the ones who are the most vehemently opposed to Black Lives Matter in that church? It's the black folks, and they're the ones that they will shout amen anytime anyone says anything bad about Black Lives Matter up there. Like they despise them. But finally, someone's actually giving, of course, that message of truth. And what do you know? People do respond to the message of truth. And we saw that with Trump, where he actually did gain votes in the black community by simply going there and saying things as simple as, listen, you've been voting Democrat for, generations, and look at where it's got you. What do you really got to lose here? And that was appealing to people.
This started with that ridiculous leftist rant about just about everything is about me and my self-expression and it's colonialist for you to tell me to control my emotions and my speech and myself. And so we kind of went off on a tangent from that. But it all ties back together because that is the message that far too often is winning out over the message of family, community. And we've got to get back to the core. What does America even stand for anymore? The reason it's not a melting pot anymore is we don't have a core. There's no core left in this country, and we've got to figure out who we are. And then some of us are going to have to make a tough decision because maybe it's going to turn out that we're not who we think they are,
and
who we think we are.
I know people want to say, we haven't been this divided since the Civil War. I would actually warrant to say that we're almost more divided now than even then. At least back then, there were still some things we could still unite around. I mean, yes, there was we're not at the point where, well, I mean, in a way we are killing each other in the streets. I mean, you have Trump supporters literally being shot in the streets by people in certain instances, like in Portland. However, at least back then, yeah, exactly. But you see what they say about people like that. I mean, anytime someone, they wanted a death penalty for Kyle Rittenhouse for defending himself against, I guess we won't go too much detail with that, but I mean, if they could get away with killing, Republicans, I really do believe a lot of them would. At least back then, though, we could still unify under some basic principles of family and religion, right? Those were two things that, whether you were in the North or you were South, you still believed in for the most part. For the most part, you go to the North, you will still saw the strong family union. You still will saw people just wanting the best for their kids and all that. You go to the South, you will saw the same thing. There was still something at the end of the war that we could still come together with. Now, what do we really even have remotely that we can actually come together on? Like, what fundamental value can people of the left and the right still agree on in this country? Because I can't think of it.
The fact that in 1865, 66, 67, the fact that the country did come back together and unite again as one, that's a tremendous story in history, because that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And so I think you make a point here. Let's say that something does happen with Texas, and I don't think this is going to happen. So don't. But we're playing the hypotheticals here. Let's say that Texas and Louisiana decide, okay, that's enough. We're done. We're getting out. I don't know that there's anything. I really don't know that there's anything that would unite everybody back again.
And
it would have to be purely economic and self-serving in some way. But those are two very resource rich states. So I don't know.
I hate to end the stream on a depressing note like that. Is there anything uplifting you can say?
Well, I still believe in a message of hope. I believe we live in a world of possibility and abundance, and it's up to each one of us to make the right choices, decisions to make our lives the best they can be. And so the hard part is, it's those magic 11 words, those 11 two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. And that's how each one of us are going to have to live. I love Viktor Frankl and A Man's Search for Meaning. But he said that we should have a companion statue to the Statue of Liberty on the West Coast, called the Statue of Responsibility, because you can't have one without the other. And
that's excellent.
I think that's where we are right now. Is some of us just need to step up and lead ourselves first, and lead our communities after that.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching the video. This video is a clip from our Summit podcast, which is live here on the channel on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. So if you enjoyed this, feel free to join and be part of the conversation. But before you go, please make sure, of course, you like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope to be seeing you again real soon.